Pilgrim and the Nun is a modern conversation about life's spiritual journeys. Welcome back to The Nun and the Pilgrim. It's Sunam and I again. Today we're going to talk about spiritual practice and how to start it and never give up.
What do you mean with never give up?
I know. As I'm saying it, I'm thinking, oh, that must be so difficult. Never giving up, because, you know, there's some of the spiritual practices that are quite difficult, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah.
But I guess if you don't start, then you can't succeed, right?
I think that's the first step. And I find it so interesting because we are both more or less the just do it types. We simply start with something and then try to figure out on the way how it goes. But I also know a lot of people who only want to start something if they know that they are succeeding. But this is part of the spiritual practice. You never, ever know if you succeed in the first run. And to be honest, in my experience, every practice I put up, I didn't succeed in the first place. It's just doing it every day, every week, and you learn every time you make a mistake. So I was thinking a lot, what keeps people from even starting something?
Well, the thing that I've heard, and the thing that stopped me with some of the practices that I've recently committed to, was that you feel that if you're not ready, meaning you're not able to do this perfectly, you're going to fail in some way, and so you don't even start. And so it's like I'm not even going to go to the gym because I'm never going to succeed.
But this, I think, is really a problem if you think that way when it comes to spiritual practice. And in the old scriptures, if you think that way, this is even regarded as laziness, because you don't want to put in the work to learn it. And every spiritual practice is a learning path, so never ever expect to be perfect in the first moment. If you start to practice, I don't know, even if you practice a very easy and easy to remember mantra, you will make mistakes. Or if you start to practice not getting angry, yes, you will succeed once, you will maybe succeed a second time, but the third time, after 2 hours in your day, you will get angry. I promise you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's even very important to make these mistakes and failures, because then you can reflect and think about what triggered it. What can I avoid to be, when it comes to anger, can I avoid to be tired, hungry in a loud and noisy environment, for example? That sometimes triggers in me that I'm really on the edge of my seat and explode sometimes, because that's how it is for me. And that's what I learned by practicing patience. Which conditions make me angry? And if I'm not willing to make these mistakes, I will not proceed on the path.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And no, it's so good. It's actually so good to hear you, a nun, saying that, because I suppose we all think that nuns are these perfect beings.
Oh, maybe you checked the first video where we talked about that.
And I suppose also it has to do with, it is really about practice. And that's partly what the meditative practices also help you with, right? Is to say, oh, let me reflect on my day. Let me see what's been happening. Let me see how I can do that differently next time. You know, do the 4 steps or whatever it is that you need to do to get back on track. So the whole point is just get back on track. So as long as you are generally getting better at something, right? At behaving in a certain way, you're doing great.
Exactly. And for me, it's mainly about accepting that you will fail. And the lesson is learn from your failures, really do analysis what made you fail. And what keeps me motivated is looking back that I succeeded twice and I failed the third time. And looking back is so often really the motivation, because we are not changing from 1 hour to the next hour. We are changing slowly over time.
Yeah.
And I go with the saying, and I have experienced it with myself, people overestimate what they can learn in 3 months, and they underestimate what they can learn in 2 years. And just take a second, look back what you have learned in the last 2 years. How have you changed in the last 2 years? And I think you are here because most of you already have a spiritual practice. Look back, how have you changed in the last 2 years?
Yeah. So I think it has to do with, we always say it's about growing your competence. So making sure you know what to do and how to do it. And you've got to learn that no matter what it is. And then you've got to practice it and practice it. And we know that it takes 66 days or longer to learn a new behavior or new habit. So you just have to keep on going and make sure that you have support, I guess, right? As well.
Yeah. And I would like to address, because that's something what we discussed before we started recording, that most of the time when you fail, you have this feeling of shame. And shame is something which petrifies you. It's like you are not able to think about why have you fallen, why have you skipped 3 days of meditation. It's simply you feel shame and you never get back on track. And that's really, really sad, because you give up something very important in your life. With the shame, you also lose the priorities of your life, because if you do a spiritual practice, you have to decide that there is a goal you want to reach. And if you don't have the goal longer in your mind, then you don't get back on track. And that's really simply sad.
So big things are just start, don't expect to be perfect. And I loved your analogy of, you overestimate what you can learn in 3 months and underestimate what you can do in 2 years, right?
Yeah.
But just get going. That's the first thing. And then keep practicing and have it. And every time you fail at something, just look at it with an objective eye and start again and look for those small improvements, which has just made me realize, I really struggle with this concept of what we call a coffee meditation. I didn't know what that was in the beginning. But basically what it is find a time in your day, typically at night, where you can just reflect and celebrate the things that you have done well and the things that you have succeeded at, and be grateful for that. And so I was struggling with that very much in the beginning. And this begins to sound to me like something that's really important, is to reflect at the end of the day about the things that you did succeed at.
Yes, and also coffee meditating. If you coffee meditate of what you have succeeded in, that also waters and plants the seed that you will succeed in the future. So you are even planting the seeds that you are doing better in the future. So yeah, I think also what came to my mind also at the moment is it's also about modesty. Just be modest. I try to practice and accept. And I think if you do it with a modest heart, you even already accept that you might fail.
Yeah. And you will.
And you will. That's
okay.
That's okay. Simply accept it and to get back on track. Yes, do your coffee meditation. I link it in the description and at the end of the video. And every time when you have this feeling of having failed, not getting back on track because you skipped your meditation or your yoga for several days, just do your coffee meditation. And I think that's really the best antidote to get back on track.
Track again. And then just don't give up. Just don't give up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sunam.
Thank you, Hanli. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.